Let's get into point number 3. Learn about masculine and feminine energy and the concept of polarity and what it takes to create sexual attraction energetically.
Yes.
And the reason this matters is what Victoria is going to explain, but a really good book about this and where I learned it from, especially for men, but also partners of men or women.
Yeah, trying to get clear on what kind of man you want to be.
Honestly, I feel like men and women should read this book. Non-binary, whatever.
Whoever you are.
Everyone. Everyone, all right? All across the board.
You got a soul.
All 68 genders. I don't know how many. Okay, too far. I'm going to cancel.
I know.
But, all right.
Cancel territory. Warning.
All right. Whoever you are, okay, if you're a human being, the way of the superior man will help you understand masculine and feminine energy. Yeah. He'll approach it in a masculine way, but you can learn from the masculine what the feminine would be. It's like if he says the masculine is this, and you're like, oh, the feminine is that. Yeah. So Victoria is actually a coach for this, especially for women and how to embody their feminine energy. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the main things that brought us to that was the key. That honestly, when I mentioned this man, David Deida, which is the author of The Way of Superior Man, and that I'm into his work.
He said David Deida, I was like,
yeah, but she didn't act like that. But she went from.
I started leaning in. I was like, okay,
all right.
I see you.
Say more.
Tell me more.
And honestly,
it was honestly like say no more.
When I pulled up my Audible, I was like going through like the David Deida audiobooks. I was like, you saw that? Just making sure.
Because David Deida is like the king of these concepts, and he's the one who has really put it into very tangible, basic teachings. And he's our main teacher.
I wouldn't even say it's basic. It can seem basic, but when you put it in practice, it gets deeper and deeper.
For sure.
Because I read Way of Superior Man in 2013, when I was like 20-something, 3 or something, but I'm still learning from it.
And embodying it more and more and more.
Yeah, exactly.
So when we talk about masculine and feminine, I'll be very clear. We all, regardless of gender or sex, we all have these two energies within us: masculine, feminine, yin, yang, fire, water, however you want to describe it. And by my definition, my understanding, and all my learnings and knowledge, the masculine is almost like the cup. It's the structure, it's the container, it's the stability. And the feminine is what fills the cup. It's the energy, it's the literal water in the cup. It's the life force energy, it's the play, it's the flow, it's the intuition. And the masculine is direction, focus, very structured, stable. And you could also look at the masculine as being consciousness itself and presence.
God.
Yeah, and being the witness. So the feminine is I'll say the masculine is the observer, the witnesser, and the feminine is the observee, the one doing the things, Mm-hmm. So like I said, we all have both of these energies within us. It's about the quantity and the level. So you can be a masculine dominant female, like I was years ago, and you can be a feminine dominant man as well. But it's about maintaining and cultivating this inner union within yourself between those two energies. And then seeing that mirrored externally in a partner in the future. So ideally, you want to be able to dance between these two energies within yourself. So for instance, in my business, I hold a lot of space for women. I'm the masculine. I'm the witnesser. I'm the container. I'm the safety. I'm the security, as they're being in their feminine, as they're exploring, as they're healing, as they're crying, as they're, all their emotions. And I'm the space holder. In my relationship, my goal is always, more often than not, to be in my feminine, to be the one who is the energy, the life force. Not that PJ doesn't have that, but him being the structure, him holding space more than taking up the space. So yeah, that's just like a basic introduction. I also have a quiz, which we'll link below in the description, to find out if you're more masculine or more feminine, and then really easy ways to heal that.
Yeah. which doesn't come across often in this video, that I'm the one that holds space, and that's because I'm like talking my head
but
off.
this is like the situation, you know?
But this is me experiencing and putting my feminine side into practice. So like, so the teaching and the words and the flow of energy, that would be my feminine. And then when I get here and sit here and get present and still and listen to you talk, I'm being my masculine, right?
Yeah, and you can even also think something really basic too, is looking at our genitalia and anatomy. You know, like the masculine is very penetrative. It's very outward.
And it goes out into the world.
Yeah, it's outward and energy pushing. And the feminine is receptive, right? Like even if you look at our holes, you know, I mean, like we receive energy from the masculine when we're penetrated. And, you know, it's the same thing, not just physically, but also energetically and emotionally too. Yeah, so the way you want to think about it too is like radiative and receptive. That's something my Qigong teacher often says, you know, Tom. Which if you're interested in learning about Qigong, which is something I practice and love, and it really helped me understand yin and yang and masculine and feminine energy through exercise and movement. Through the body, Through the body, which is so important. Check out the link in the description. We have a free exercise for you that I believe you will like a lot. Anyways, my Qigong teacher always says yin and yang is so yang, which is the masculine, would be the radiative. It radiates. It pushes energy out like the sun. Yeah. Whereas the feminine, the yin, is receptive. So like the moon, for example, which is often associated with the feminine, it receives the sunlight or the light. It like absorbs. It looks like it's putting out, you know, like on a full moon maybe it puts out, it becomes more masculine, but more often it's receiving the light. You know what I mean? It's taking the light, you know. So anyways, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because if you want to have sexual attraction with a woman or a man, whatever, you need to be in the opposite polarity or opposite pole energetically than the one that they are in. Like right? Magnets, right? Like magnets. Two of the same pole of a magnet will repel each other. Yeah. But if you do the opposite, they are magnetic. They just are drawn together, and it's the same thing. So if I'm, for instance, a masculine oriented woman and I haven't developed my feminine at all, I'm like disconnected from my body, I overthink, I just can't play, it's hard for me to move my hips or dance. Those are pretty obvious indications that I'm very much in my masculine as a woman. It's going to be hard to attract a masculine man because I'm already so masculine. So it's like we're going to repel each other. Now if I can step into my feminine as I desire a masculine man, then it starts to be this attraction process and this magnetism. Right. But yeah, you will repel each other. And that's why it's so important to be able to move between these two energies with ease in different situations. You want to know how to be able to turn it on. Yeah. Right? So and not be like roommates or friends. Yeah, that's based on the situation. So I used to fall into friend zone a lot, right? Which is why I got into learning a lot about this stuff. Because I had immigrated from a different culture into this culture. And so a lot of things were different. Like in the culture I grew up in, if you like just shower her with compliments and just like buy her stuff, when you barely even know her, that's like, she's like, oh, I'm in love, you know what I mean? But it doesn't work like that here, you know? And so I was like, what the heck is going on? Where they're like, oh, you're like a brother to me. I'm like, I'm not trying to be your brother, sis. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I mean? But anyways, that's it's because he hadn't developed his masculine yet. Yeah. Especially his primal masculine. But it wasn't even that. It just like, I didn't even know what I'm doing that's causing that effect. Yeah. Right? But it's obviously something if it keeps repeating. And so for me, realizing that sexual attraction takes these poles, right? And you can learn how to turn it on. For example, you go into a situation and you want to attract a person. Let's say you're on a date, right? And you have your natural essence. So for example, one person, one man can be more naturally in their masculine essence, right? Like you can think of that stereotypically really well. It's like someone that's just like a military guy, like someone who's very
like stereotypically, right? Like a very masculine or like MMA guy. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
like that's a good example.
Fighter,
you know, like
warrior.
fighter. You know, yeah, like a man that just wants to do that. Very masculine. So you can naturally be a man in his masculine. Naturally, that's your thing. But you can still step into that feminine energy. Like that same MMA fighter may go take a bath.
Yeah.
And relax. Mm-hmm. And let go.
Or he can really move his hips and dance slowly. You know, or he's in touch with his emotions and can articulate how he feels in different situations and not lose himself in the emotions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a point I wanted to make where you have your natural tendency, your natural essence, right?
Yeah.
So simultaneously, you can be a feminine more in the masculine naturally, which you said you were. Mm-hmm. You know, you can be a man more in the feminine naturally. But you can learn how to turn it on in different situations to get different effects, right? Mm-hmm. So friend zone happens when I am interacting with a feminine girl, a girl, you know, I'm straight, so I'm into women. Mm-hmm. So a woman who is in her feminine. Then I come in and I am relating to her as a man, but in my feminine. So I'm relating to her as like, oh my God, then what did he say? Oh no, he didn't say that. And like emotionally talk. And then how does that make you feel? Oh, you're heartbroken? Oh, I feel that too. I would be heartbroken. That's a very feminine interaction. That's like me a girl hanging out with her girlfriend, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, he said that? Oh my God, how? How do you feel, honey? You know, like that's a very feminine interaction. Mm-hmm. A masculine would be more like, honestly, more listening, maybe, right?
But more like presence in space holding.
But also like being able to speak your truth, which is a masculine quality. Like, I don't want to hear about your relationship nonsense, to be honest with you. So I'm going to bounce. I'm going to go hang out with my buddy John. You know what I mean? Like,
which is a boundary setting.
Boundary, that's already a masculine thing to do, set a boundary, but also directly speak your truth. Like,
be direct. That's what the masculine is. It's penetrating, it's direct, it's forward focused, it's linear, it's structured, you know?
Yeah. But you can create sexual attraction in a situation, if you wish to do that, in a situation by understanding the polarity. So you go to a date, and in this situation, let's say you want to be attracted, you don't want to be friend zoned with this person. So your intention for going on that date is to meet a significant other, meet a person that you want to be with intimately, right? And sexually as part of that. Mm-hmm. So you want to be able to like turn it on. So if I go to a date, and my natural tendency is to be in my feminine, as a man, to be in my feminine, let's say, which I'm actually really pretty balanced, I would say.
We're both
I've just learned how to like, you know, dance between them if needed. Mm-hmm. But let's say in that situation, I'm in a date and the feminine, the woman that I'm with is very much in her feminine. I know that the way to turn on this woman is to be in my masculine, right? Mm-hmm. So learning about what those masculine qualities are, what ways of being, you know, and behaving radiate that masculine energy. Like, for example, when I met her, I was intentional. I didn't even know what she's into. I didn't even know about our, you know, you knowing about David Data, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I was intentionally showing up to be in my masculine. So I remember there was this setting where they brought the tea, or like they were close by bringing the tea or whatever it was. And I grabbed the teacup, I put it down for her. I poured her a tea, like directed the whole thing. I grabbed it for you, I brought it for you, I poured it for you, and directed the whole situation, you know?
Another example, too, is when we were going to go on our first official date after meeting in a group setting, and he wasn't like, oh, where do you want to go? He was like, okay, let's go to this coffee shop at this time, and we'll meet there. Mm-hmm. He wasn't like, what do you want to eat? Where do you want to go? Making me be in the masculine, making me lead, making me point the direction. Mm-hmm. And that's a really easy way to be in the masculine, is just decision making. That's a really good way. It's just to lead your woman, you know? Yeah. But she has to be okay with being in her feminine and surrendering enough.
And trusting that guidance.
Yeah, you had to have passed enough of the tests of the feminine as a man for her to have built up this necessary trust enough to surrender and trust that you're going to make the right decision and it's going to all work out perfectly, and there's safety in that container, in that structure.
Yeah. And I was assisted in that by that time because I already knew what you're into. So I was like, she'll know my game. You know what I mean? Like, she'll know you know, like she'll know if I'm being, I wanted to manifest a partner who in the relationship wanted to be in their feminine. That's very important, right? I knew what my intention is with that. Like going back to the first point, I wanted her to feel feminine. Yeah. Now keep in mind, Victoria's natural tendency for most of her life was to be in her masculine, right? And a lot of times situationally we end up getting put in these poles, but it's not the pole we want to be in. Yeah. So let's say you grew up in a tough environment, you had to be more masculine, you had to be more tough. Right? Versus surrender and like, you know,
being soft and, you know, in your body and in your emotions and giving space to your emotions. And
the situation you were in didn't allow for that. So you created this shell, this masculine armor, so to speak.
Well, another example too is I was so masculine, I kept attracting all these feminine men, which were not what I wanted, you know? And I was like, why does this keep happening to me? And eventually I figured out it's because I'm so masculine that whoever is in my field, in my space, has no option but to be in their feminine. But that's also what I'm naturally attracting, like a magnet, because I'm so masculine. I attract feminine energy. I attracted all these men who were like man children, as I like to call them. They weren't sovereign men. And so I had to really work on myself and cultivate my feminine and make that be my default setting, especially around men, especially when I'm meeting new people, so that those people naturally gravitate towards me, the masculine men.
And a lot of masculine women need, let's say a masculine woman that actually deeply desires to be in her feminine, what that woman most likely requires is a man that overpowers her in masculine.
Yeah, he can like out-masculine her.
Yeah.
You know, like his masculine is stronger than hers so that she can relax. She's like, okay, you're strong enough. I see you.
A good example of that is a very, very tall woman, right? If it like Hagrid and Harry Potter, you know, Hagrid is a giant, right? And like the woman that he was into was also very, you know, was a giant herself too. Yeah. And not giant in a derogatory word, like they're like the giant,
actual giants.
Yeah, in a race in that movie. But basically, she's already so used to being more overpowering than other people. But Hagrid comes along and he's bigger, at least, you know, energetically, you know, maybe...
He's a match for her.
Yeah, he's a match, and he overpowers her masculine so she can relax into her feminine. Like, a lot of times women who are very masculine look for a partner and they're like, dear God, you know, I wish I can meet a guy that like is more powerful than me in that regard.
As powerful as me, because we've gotten so good in this modern day and age, like post third wave feminism, of being so masculine that we can out masculine men as women. And so it's about, and we also simultaneously see this lack of conscious healthy masculinity in men. And I always say toxic masculinity is this actual absence of masculinity that creates that toxicity of the healthy masculine. So that's you end up with man children and all these things. So you want someone, as if you're a masculine woman, someone who can out masculine you, who is your equal, who is just as powerful as you in your masculine, who has developed their masculine just as much as you, so that you can sink into your feminine. And it's the same thing for men too. We all need to be balanced and developed in these different energies, because if not, a lot of issues start to manifest physically, emotionally, spiritually. If you're too masculine for years and years and years on end as a woman, it takes a toll on your body, it takes a toll on your womb, it takes a toll on your skin, your youth, all of that. And your relationships, you know, not having fruitful relationships. And the same thing for men. You see like 45-year-old men who are like still single, who are man children. It's for a reason. They have never developed their masculine in a healthy way, or been shown an example of that, or been taught.
Or maybe they're consciously choosing to be single, which is a completely different place to come from it. You know what I mean? So the point here, though, that I think is important to mention in our case is that you had chosen consciously that I want to be in my feminine. So that's what you wanted to feel in a relationship. I had chosen from being in my feminine too many times in too many relationships and not liking it. I had chosen that in my next relationship, I want to be in the masculine. And so that was a conscious choice we both had made. So when we met each other, and especially after we realized we're into the same understanding of feminine and masculine energy, especially after that, I was like, I want to be my masculine, therefore I'm going to do these masculine, take these masculine actions, guide the direction, set the tone, bring you along for the journey versus making you plan the journey. And then I go along, like, where are you going to take us tonight? It was
because our masculine is so developed as women, and we have to make decisions all day, every day in our own lives, especially if we're single. Like, you don't want to have to do that with your man. You don't want to have to lead him. You don't want to have to mother or father him and baby him. You want someone that can lead you too.
And it's really tough for women who work in a corporate environment where every day they have to make so many decisions and so many challenges, obstacles, lead people.
Lots of people at once.
All that stuff. Then when they come home, it's hard for them to step into their feminine, and their husband either has to be extra masculine, so like their ability, to out masculine them puts her in her feminine, makes her be at ease, or they just have to, like, the husband has to work really hard to be that. Maybe they naturally are that, which is great, but maybe they're not, and they have to work extra to be out masculine them, but they're also like coming home and they're tired too, and so they're not feeling like, and that's how relationships fizzle apart, because the polarity over time becomes too masculine or too feminine together. And even in gay and lesbian relationships, you need to have these two opposites to have attraction, sexual attraction, because otherwise you have two friends. Like with my buddies, I don't want my buddy to be like her feminine or his feminine, because then that, like, I don't want sexual attraction with my buddy. Come on, man. But so anyways, my whole point was, when you learn these concepts and you go on a date, you can choose to step into these poles and create the desired attraction if you so choose. So if I go on a date and I notice that this woman that I'm on a date with is in her feminine, and she may not know any of this stuff, I can choose to be my masculine, listen, speak my truth, guide her, and then some.
Or she's like, oh, I don't know what to eat, looking at the menu.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can decide between this or this.
And instead of saying, oh, I don't know either, oh my God, I don't know either, I'll just quickly make a decision. Like, I quickly made a decision to show you my Audible library, right?
Yeah.
I could have been like, like, I don't know.
And be sitting there in your head thinking about it for the next 10 minutes.
So I quickly made a decision. And I've practiced, like, listening for guidance and getting direction that way. Anyway, so that's a whole different story. But, like, I'm able to make quick decisions now because I'm tuned into, like, guidance. Like, I can pray real quick, guide me to, like, what should I do? And guide her. So in that situation, by being able to step in that pole, I can create a situation where sexual attraction exists. And that was a conscious choice.
Yeah.
And that's the whole goal, is the attraction, because
that's what you want. If you're attracting the one, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to be energetic matches for each other.
Yeah.
And nature itself is always going to want to balance. Like, that is the whole goal, and that's reflected in us. So we're always going to seek this union, this balance within and without. So what is internal, a lack of balance or balance, is going to be reflected externally. If I'm imbalanced only in my masculine as a woman, I'm only going to attract feminine men. And maybe that's what I want. Maybe not, though. Most women, it's not. Honestly, our truest, deepest desire is to be in our feminine, be able to relax, be able to play, be able to be in our emotions, be able to be in our feelings, our sensations, our pleasure, and have someone witnessing us, someone holding space for us, someone making us feel safe and secure.
The feminine wants to be seen. The feminine in all of us wants to be seen, and it's the inner child. The inner child, children in general represent the feminine also, because they want to be led. They want to be guided.
In the moment.
And they're always like, "What is this? What is that? What does this mean?" They want to be led. They want to be directed. They want to be shown. And they're playing. They're having fun. But children want to be seen and heard. The feminine in all of us wants to be seen and heard. And the feminine is the light in all of us, is the radiance in all of us. It's the beauty.
It's the energy. It's the juice.
If you have a man and a woman, and the woman wants to feel in her feminine, but the man is spending more time looking at his appearance saying, oh my God, I'm so beautiful, this beard, his eyebrows, on fleek. She's going to lose attraction because he's more obsessed with his own light, his own beauty, his own radiance, than watching hers. The feminine wants to be seen. So the feminine in her wants to be seen and loved and heard, you know? And so the feminine in her, if you see me caring more about my own feminine, then you're like, ugh. But this period takes a long time, guys. You know what I'm saying? So anyways.
Or if another indication that a man is too much in his feminine is a man who cannot control his emotions and cannot either emotionally regulate, which means he can diffuse and transmute his emotions, and regulate his nervous system and not get amped up and like crazy. That's an indication. But also be able to convey your emotions and that emotional intelligence, right? Be able to convey it. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, so the whole point was being able to dance into these poles, you are able to create situations that attraction actually does happen.
Yeah, but it comes from you being already developed in both of these energies, right? You can embody your masculine, you can make decisions, you can lead people, you can create structure, you can create a container for whatever your situation you're in, but you can also be in your feminine in the next 2 hours and be playing, be dancing, be in your pleasure, be trusting, and just being in the moment, being present. That is the feminine. So developing that inner union and seeing that reflected in who you start to attract and who you date.
And the masculine and the feminine, all of us, first has to be, so the masculine is what gives a feeling of trust and certainty. I can trust, like, when I think of like a great man, that's a man I can trust. When I think about Jesus, for example, I can trust Jesus.
That's a good point.
I can trust him to do what he's going to say. He said,
it's integrity. That's a masculine. And that's the difference with man children or men too in their feminine is normally it's a lack of integrity. They'll be talking and saying shit, but they won't actually follow through and take masculine action and make it happen. So like, oh, I want a girl, blah, blah, blah. But they're too scared to come up and talk to a woman or be like, hey, you look really beautiful today or whatever, taking that masculine action. So it's integrity, follow through, honoring your word. These are basic masculine concepts.
Yeah, and the masculine is trustworthy, but the way you get to that is you have to trust your own masculine first.
Yeah,
How can I fully believe that she can trust me when I don't trust me? When I haven't done things, when I haven't kept my word to myself, when I haven't said to myself, hey, tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. and then I don't. And then I say, oh, I'm going to quit smoking, and then I don't. And then like, how am I supposed to expect her to trust me? She shouldn't. That'd be wrong for her to do that.
And that's where when you're trying to find and you're dating someone as the feminine, if you want to be in the feminine, is it's not intentional, but just having these tests, these situations that come up. And it's normally unconscious, the feminine testing the masculine, but these situations that come up where he's challenged to put action to his words. So for instance, when PJ and I met, again, he didn't understand the concept of boundaries. He wasn't familiar with them. I had to abreast him of the idea, and he even read a book all about it. And he encountered these situations with other women where he had to set a boundary. He had to have tough conversations, take masculine action, and honor his word.
By the way,
he did.
Sorry to interrupt. I think it will go up here. Link up here to my video called My Journey with Boundaries. If you're interested in kind of my personal journey with learning that and how I went about it and what books helped me in that, check out that link. It may go up there. I don't know right now.
But boundaries are so important as a man. Follow through, integrity, trust.
I think the link go up there. But anyways, the point is that that element is super important. The element of trust. And the feminine, likewise, like if you want to be in the feminine in the relationship, what you need to do is in your own personal life, put your feminine into practice. You want to be more embodying your feminine in the relationship. But if you never dance, if you never surrender, if you never give up control, how the heck do you expect to be treated in that way when you haven't even stepped into that?
Yeah.
So here's my kind of question also for you and like a discussion. What do you think about a situation where a man goes on a date with a woman, the woman is very much in her masculine, but wants to be treated as a feminine in the relationship. Mm-hmm. In that situation, to create sexual attraction for that man with her, does that man have to A, overpower her masculine by being more masculine, or B, does he step into her feminine and therefore create a pole attraction and therefore sexual attraction? Mm-hmm. I'm going to answer myself in a second, like right now, and then I want to hear your thoughts. Mm-hmm. I think what he can do is, if that woman actually wants to be in her masculine, which I said the situation she doesn't, she actually wants to be in her feminine. Mm-hmm. In this particular situation, what he needs to do is overpower her masculine. Mm-hmm. But he also wants to meet her halfway. Like, you want her to give you some, like, a little bit of, like, relax herself, you know? Like if she constantly is fighting with you and not allowing you, you have a harder challenge, right?
Yeah, it's like two bulls going at
But now if you have a woman who is in her masculine, but wants to be in her masculine, she wants to be the dominant one in a relationship, she wants to be controlling you, and in a sexual way, she wants to be on top. Yeah. Okay, if you have a girl like that, then she will get turned on by you as a man if you're on a date with her, if you step into your feminine, because she's like, oh, I can. Like, she gets turned on by the feel.
But that's short term. That doesn't last.
It depends though, because some people want to, like, a woman can just want to be in her masculine, and a man can just want to be in her feminine.
I know, but I think it's a question of, like, okay, but how does that work long term in terms of creating polarity and sexual attraction for years on end in a relationship, right? That might be okay in the beginning, but how does that play out? And eventually it turns into a situation where you're just two roommates and you never have sex. It's just like, there's no juice, there's no magnetism, more often than not in my experience. But I mean, I would say that either the dude has to out-masculine her masculine, or if she's conscious enough, which hopefully she is, she can notice that has this armor, this masculine armor, or she's trying to control or trying to dominate the situation, and show him how strong she is, whatever it is. Hopefully she has the consciousness that that's occurring enough to be like, okay, how can I surrender?
Let him choose.
Yeah, how can I let go? How can I just be in this moment? And an easy way, like if you're on a date at a restaurant, is to, again, like that, I just gave that example not that long ago of, oh, what do I eat? So-and-so. I can't decide between sushi or fried rice. What do you think I should get?
Yeah.
That's a really easy way to, and then refuse to choose.
You know,
give him the opportunity and the invitation. It's an invitation to step in his masculine, which you did with me so well, which I'm so grateful for, because it was the first time that I ever got into a relationship and I approached it from that stance. So it was nice to have a partner who's dancing with me, because it is a dance. This is polarity. This is dance. Yeah. And you were like, it's like a tango. You took a step back so I can put my foot where your foot was. And then have that dance happening. Yeah. Not that I dance like this. I'm actually like
robotic. But another way is, like, we gave that example when PJ and I went on our first date. He chose, he led, and I let him. I surrendered enough to be like, if he takes me to a coffee shop, if he takes me to dinner, it doesn't matter. It's all going to work out. It's all going to be perfect and divine timing and beautiful. So, if you're trying to decide where to eat, refusing to choose as the woman, giving him no option but to choose and take action, letting him lead, letting him step into that. That's an easy way.
And if he still doesn't, then you either leave that guy.
Well, you might need to just overtly say, hey, I don't want to choose. I want you to make this decision.
What do you think? Where do you want us to go,
Yeah.
And then if he's like, well, a lot of guys, I genuinely feel bad for guys or girls who don't know about this stuff, because it's to me, it's like a limitation. It's almost like there's a dimension of reality that you're not seeing, but is so real.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like you're at a disadvantage because you're making your decision based on what you're seeing, but you're not seeing this underlying thing.
Because it's energy.
It is energy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to make this segment so long, this part, because it's so helpful in creating attraction and sustaining that. And ideally, this is the ideal situation you want to have. Let's say you want to be in your masculine or you want to be in your feminine. Ideally, you want to attract a partner who wants to, out of their conscious choice, be in the opposite. Mm-hmm. You may be able to create sexual attraction in the short term by just playing the polarity game. You know, it's like, masculine and I'm going to be my feminine, or vice versa. But to make that long term and sustaining, you want to have a partner who wants to be in the opposite of what you want to be in.
Yeah, it's that cliche, opposites attract. It's very, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.